Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm George Hidalgo, Club President. Thanks for joining us. I'll open with my good news item about how we serve our community through our club's philanthropy. Each year, our foundation provides nearly $5,000 in support of our Rotary Youth Exchange Program. So this exchange program for high school students that started in 1929 builds peace one young person at a time. Exchange students develop lifelong leadership skills while learning a new language and culture, and they build lasting friendships. Host families develop lifelong friendships too. Just ask Rob Stroud, Bob Sorge, Bradley Campbell, and Lynn Sexton to name a few about the lasting friendships that they've made through our Rotary Youth Exchange Program. Now, there's a year-long exchange program where students attend local schools and live with multiple host families, and there is a short-term exchange that occurs for a few months during the summer. Students pay their own airfare and travel insurance. Whole families take care of room and board, and school fees are covered. The funding our foundation has in our annual budget covers district events for exchange students, a small monthly stipend, cell phone service, and school sports fees and lunches. Now, as with everything else during the pandemic, our Rotary Youth Exchange Program has had to make some changes. We'll hear from our current exchange student Fabricio about that change a little later in today's meeting. We'll open with America the Beautiful, and our thanks to Lane Mishler for playing today's opening music. It's time for this month's Ask George question. As president, I get asked quite a few questions about our club, so I'm continuing a monthly segment called Ask George to help members connect to the traditions of our club. So here's this month's questions. Hey George, what is the deal with music at our meetings? Why do we sing at Rotary? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, as there is some good history on the topic. I've asked past president Melanie Ramey to help give us a response to that question. Here's Melanie.
Thanks, George, for asking me about singing. I'm a big proponent of singing, and it's a part of the history of Rotary clubs. You know, it actually began in about 1905 when Harvey Ruggles, a member of the Chicago Rotary Club, suggested they start singing before meetings because it was energizing and it was fun. And so that really began singing at Rotary. And he actually even wrote a songbook for Rotarians. So, you know, it's been a wonderful thing. And I know people say, well, all Rotary clubs don't sing. Well, the real problem is most of them don't have talent, you know. I mean, we've got talent. Not only do we have great singers, but we have the musicians that accompany them. Some of them play in orchestras, they teach their instrument. One of them I know actually worked his way through college doing gigs. And so, you know, we have a lot of talent, and then the people who lead the singing have really nice voices. So, singing is a really wonderful thing because when you stand up, it energizes you, and you feel differently when you sit back down to visit with the people at your table. So, I know a couple of years ago, someone made a comment on the survey saying, well, singing is old fashioned and it's corny. Well, you know, is the four-way test old fashioned and corny? Is the preamble to the Constitution old fashioned and corny? These are foundational things that make something important. And singing is important in the foundation of Rotary. And so, I can go back to the poet Virgil in 19 BC, who commented on the great value of singing, and all the way up to Ella Fitzgerald, who knew a thing or two about singing, who said the only thing better about singing is more singing. And so I think that we are lucky that we have such talented people in our club. And I think that we should be singing at every meeting, not just twice a month, because it's good for us. It's good for our health, and it's good for our mood, and it's good for our club. So, George, that's why we sing at Rotary, and that's why I hope we continue to sing.
Thanks, Melanie, for sharing this background about music at Rotary, and we sincerely thank our talented members for sharing their music with us. We're going to do some committee reports and announcements. So our Rotary Youth Exchange student Fabricio arrived in January from Brazil to spend a year in Madison. He was attending Madison East High School, and what an unusual year it has been for him because of the pandemic. Unfortunately, now that school will not be held in person this fall, we learned the sad news Fabricio will be traveling back home early and will depart this month. He wanted to give us a final report, so let's now listen to his message.
Hello everybody. So I was asked to tell you guys about my experience. First of all, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity. I had an awesome year. In spite of the conditions, I did like my best. So I want to thank you guys so much for the opportunity. I'm really grateful for that. So about my exchange, I mean, I had like 2 regular months, 2 months of like going to school and nothing with Corona. And then after Corona, I couldn't like have a normal exchange program because like I wasn't able to do everything as I would if we didn't have Corona. But I had an awesome year, because I made a lot of friends in these 2 months. That was everything normal. So I could have done like a lot of things during the quarantine, like going play soccer with some friends, going fishing with a friend. So I did travel a lot. So I saw a lot of different places in US. So that was super cool. I kind of hiked a lot in US. I didn't know that was gonna happen. And another thing that's kind of funny, when I was in Brazil and I knew that I was gonna go to US, I thought I was gonna come back like really fat, I thought I was only gonna eat like hamburgers and pizza every day, and that's a fake, because I'm eating healthier than I would eat in Brazil probably. So I had an awesome year, I'm really grateful, and it's like I didn't want to go back to home, but that's not my call, School is just saying like you gotta go back, you cannot study here anymore. My enrollment was canceled, so that's an unfortunate. But the 6 months that I was here, I really learned a lot. I think I grew a lot. So it was really, really cool experience. And if you guys have any kids, I would totally recommend to encourage them to do the exchange year when they turn like 15 to 16 or 17. All right, thank you guys. That's what I wanted to say. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really grateful for that. Bye-bye.
We wish you all the best, Fabricio, and have safe travels back to Brazil. I'd like to thank Janine O'Rourke, who chairs our Rotary Youth Exchange Committee, for working with our Rotary District, the school district, and Fabricio and his family in working out plans for a safe return. Our next announcement is the Swarzinski Award nomination. I'd like to remind you that you can refer to Friday's Rotary News for information about our annual Swarzinski Humanitarian Service Award. We are now seeking nominations for this award, and the deadline is October 1st. And now, on to an important announcement about our membership dues restructuring plan that was adopted by our board at their last August meeting. So due to COVID-19, we've been unable to meet in person since March, and we're unlikely to resume in-person luncheons before at least January. Even then, many members may prefer to wait longer to return. So as you know, most members have been paying dues that include the cost of weekly meals. But many of us may not know that 46% of prepaid meals are not actually consumed by members. That has helped fund over $100,000 of our club's operating expenses each year. So between March and June, none of the prepaid meals were consumed, and we were grateful that most club members declined to receive a $145 meal credit in order to support the club financially. On one hand, the board recognized that continuing to charge members for meals they can't consume is not sustainable. And on the other hand, we know that without the surplus generated by meals, the club would have an insurmountable operating deficit. That's why an ad hoc committee was formed to study this and make actionable recommendations. The committee was chaired by Mark Moody, and members of the committee are now listed on the screen. The new dues structure reflects the true cost of the club and spreads them more equitably among the different types of members. Lower dues for exempt and life members will continue in recognition of their many years of service and financial support to the club. Here's a chart showing the new dues structure. Standard members will pay $390 for dues per 6 months, and this is retroactive to July 2020. Any standard member who paid the meal costs already will receive a credit on the January to June 2021 billing for the difference between what you paid and the dues of $390. Standard members who haven't yet paid their dues will get a new invoice for $390 for July to December 2020. Exempt members will see an increase in dues effective for the next billing cycle of January to June 2021 from $185.50 to $235. Now, life members had a dues increase this past July 1st, so their new dues will change from $150 to $225 starting July 1 of 2021. Now, the board acted under the emergency authority to approve these changes. Now, once the pandemic emergency has subsided to the point where a membership vote was possible, the revised dues structure will be put to a vote of the members. We believe these changes to our dues structure are necessary and appropriate to ensure the financial viability of the club. We agree that the elimination of the meal subsidy was overdue and necessary, and the dues now reflect the true cost of operation of our club. Our ad hoc committee will hold a Zoom Q&A on August 20th for interested members who have questions or want to hear more background. A letter about this new dues structure is being mailed out to all members this week, and Friday's email will include a link to the August 20 Zoom meeting. All of us are working hard to ensure the club continues to provide value for our members during the pandemic and beyond. Now, we may have set a budget based on 400, but we hope to retain many more members than that and to continue to grow further in the years ahead. I value every single member of our Rotary Club. We're friends first and foremost, and we all care deeply about our community. We enrich each other's lives, and we make a difference for the people of the city that we love. Now, those are strong bonds. Let's stick together, get through this tough period, and emerge even stronger. Here's to many more good years ahead. Thank you. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements Rotary's mission. We also encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation, rounded up to $100 for our Club Synergy Scholarship Fund. So on August 10th, past President Christine Beatty, who says, "My birthday roundup amount to $100 is getting smaller each year. I challenge those over 50 to add an age match to your gift to support the Synergy Scholarship Fund." So great point, Christine. August 10th, Carl Hampton. August 11th, Paul Hoffman. August 11th, Bev Simone. August 12th, Marcia Whittington. August 13th, Brian Paskin. August 13th, Nan Hoffman. August 14th, Jim Cole. August 14th, Empoli Shimwanza Johnson. August 15th, Gary Walter. Now, thanks to our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation, lessons to Lane Mishler sing Happy Birthday. Let's look at member in the news. My featured member in the news for this week is connecting us to Rotarian Jason Ilstrup, who was quoted in a recent Wisconsin State Journal article titled "We're All in This Together, State Street Merchants, City Seek a New Normal." Now, Jason became president of Downtown Madison Incorporated in 2018. He joined our Rotary Club in 2016 and is a member of our program committee. So as you can imagine, Jason is always busy. He has been especially busy since March, when the pandemic shut down businesses in downtown Madison. And on top of that, writing has been catastrophic to businesses located in downtown Madison. So one of Jason's quotes in the article was that it's 152 businesses and 152 different things happening, and that is a lot to manage. Jason, we applaud your efforts in helping downtown Madison navigate through COVID-19 and the aftermath of the riots. By the way, Jason will be our speaker on August 25th, and we look forward to hearing from him later this month. On to our main program. We want Rotarians to see who our current board members are this year, so we are continuing to ask one of our board members to introduce a speaker each month. This month, board member Mark Clare will introduce our speaker. Mark previously served 11 years on the Madison City Council and was the founder of 3 tech startups. He is currently a senior proposal writer for Task C in Madison. Mark started his first of a 2-year term on our board in July. I'll turn the virtual podium over to Mark, who will introduce today's speaker.
Thank you, President George. Today's speaker is UW-Madison Chancellor Rebecca Blank. She became Chancellor of Wisconsin's flagship university in July 2013, bringing with her a deep commitment to educational excellence and innovation. She is an internationally respected economist who spent time in Washington, D.C., working in 3 different administrations, most recently as President Obama's Secretary of Commerce. From 1999 to 2008, she was Dean and Professor of Public Policy and Economics in the Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy at the University of Michigan, where she launched innovations including interdisciplinary graduate programs and an undergraduate public policy major. Today, Chancellor Blank is going to share with us lessons learned and the challenges that lie ahead for UW-Madison. If you're watching this meeting live, you are invited to a Q&A with Chancellor Blank, hosted by President George immediately following her remarks. The link for that Zoom meeting is in your email from the office this morning. Please help me welcome Chancellor Rebecca Blank to our virtual podium.
Good afternoon. It's always good to be here at the Rotary. And thanks to Ron Luskin and the Rotary Program Committee for asking me to speak today. A special hello to all the Rotary members here who are connected to the University of Wisconsin. That's actually most of you in my experience who are either staff, alumni, parents, grandparents of our students, or just come over to the terrace regularly for a little bit of time off. I want to particularly thank Rotary member Regina Milner, who I hope is here this afternoon listening, for her very deep involvement with the university, which has stayed active even after she's left the Board of Regents. So this is the first time that I've spoken to this group without first having lunch and conversation, not to mention a few songs. It's not the same, but I'm delighted we're going to be able to have a question and answer period afterwards. And thank you to George Hidalgo for organizing and for moderating this session. So as you all know, the university closed down in the middle of March. At just before spring break, we announced we were moving all 8,000 classes to remote instruction. And 13 days later, we had almost 100% of our classes operating remotely. That meant students left the dorms and went home. Everyone except essential workers went home, and if they could, was told to telecommute. Almost all of our laboratories were closed down, except those doing essential health-related research, and the faculty finished the semester teaching from home. It was a big change, And I will tell you, it was a big lift closing a major research university in a very short period of time. But whatever big a lift closing was, reopening has been a bigger lift. We are planning to reopen this fall. We have a full curriculum. We will be open regardless of whether things are taught in person or online. But we're doing it with an entirely different way of operating. Almost all of our functions are operating somewhat differently come this fall. We're using what everyone's calling a hybrid model, some courses online, some courses in person. And one reason to do that is that we really do believe deeply that there's some types of in-person instruction that are critical and that cannot be replaced with online learning. And where we can do so, we would like to be able to provide it safely. So let me talk through what it is that we're doing and what the plans are for the fall. Fall instruction, of course, is what people ask about first. What's going to happen to students? Well, our large classes will be online, but many of our smaller classes, whether there are problem set or discussion sections for those large classes or smaller classes in and of themselves, will be in person. Classes will be available for those who can't be here in person, and we have students who shouldn't be on campus, or in some cases in the international front, who can't get to campus. We will start as usual on September 2nd, but we're planning to go fully virtual after Thanksgiving, so we don't have a place where everyone goes home and then comes back to campus, just at a time when a lot of people think that the virus could be reemerging because of the colder weather. To give you a sense of what's going on with specific fall instruction, obviously some of our faculty were very well versed in doing online instruction, but for some this was new and they had a lot of learning to do, and we've done enormous amounts of training starting in the middle of March and all through the summer. Virtually all of our faculty have engaged in some form of additional training about more teaching online. Let me give you an example with Chemistry 103 and 104. Those are two of our largest classes. They enroll about 5,000 students every academic year, and both are going to be taught fully online. That raises the question of how do we do chemistry labs, which are absolutely essential to those classes. Well, the chemistry department has developed a combination of lab data that students can work through, digital simulations, at-home experiment kits, and other ways to work through the labs. Developing those two classes alone took a team of 12 faculty and staff working full-time over 6 weeks. Not surprisingly, we have to take safety measures in order to be safe when classes are taking place in person. Our classrooms will be physically distanced. That means no one is within 6 feet of anyone else. That means you need a big classroom to teach a small class. So classes that seat 25 are going to be now used to seat 8. And so we don't have enough classes between the hours of 9 and 5 to hold everything that we need. Our classrooms just don't have enough of the larger classrooms. So that means we have some scheduling changes. We will be running classes in the evening. We will be running more classes on Friday. And take a seat for this, we will have some Saturday classes as well. And that's just necessary in order to accommodate classes in the physically distanced way that we need. We're requiring masking in every in-person class, and there will be cleaning supplies, hand sanitizers, extra masks available at the back of every classroom. We are getting creative about our instruction. To the left here is the outdoor roof area of the School of Human Ecology. We've got one faculty member who's going to be teaching Introduction to Textile Design in this space. She's going to have students working on producing natural dyes and testing them out on different types of textiles in the early fall. And then when the weather makes it impossible to be out here, they'll be working at home with the materials that they've created and coming together remotely for discussions and to show their work and to listen to lectures from the faculty member. In the middle is a display of one of our art students' work. One of the big concerns here for our art students is that many of our majors are required to showcase their art in a public place. Well, how do you do that at a time of COVID? They've gotten very creative, and their art is now appearing in showcase and display in some very, very famous locations around the world. And I look forward to seeing more of that in the year ahead. And then to the right, this is our language programs. Some of our language programs where the languages are different from English require on seeing the student's mouth to know if they're actually speaking the words correctly, if they have the sounds right. And they were pretty stumped about how to do that when everyone's wearing masks. So instead, one of them found these clear masks, and they're going to be using those in the classroom. Now, technology cannot and will not replace some of these live in-person and residential experiences. But there are moments of discovery as well about how we can use technologies to enhance education. And one of my hopes is when we come out on the other side of this, we'll actually be teaching better and more effectively by using and integrating technology more effectively into our in-person learning. None of this can take place without health protocols. We have what we're calling a 3-part testing plan. That involves on-campus testing centers available to any member of campus to make an appointment and to come by. We will be doing surveillance testing of the entire campus population. This is a randomized testing process to monitor levels of infection at different parts of the population to be able to see whether we need to do more or take different steps and aim it at particular groups on campus. And then we have targeted testing for certain groups, particularly our dorm residents and the staff who work in the dorms, who are going to be tested every 2 weeks. And in fact, we're likely to make sure that all of our dorm residents are tested immediately upon arrival. So if anyone arrives with a COVID positive case, they're immediately isolated until they're better. Testing is really important, and we've worked really hard. We're going to be doing our test results on campus. We've set up our own testing lab, but testing only works when it's combined with other types of health protocols. So we are, as the County of Dane is, requiring masking in all indoor public spaces, social distancing, physical distancing, additional cleaning and hand washing, and we've got all sorts of cleaning protocols. We're asking everyone to monitor their symptoms every morning, and we are training a group of contact tracers so that any of the cases that emerge on campus, we're handling the contact tracing, and that's not being loaded off onto Dane County. One of the questions I regularly get asked is, will students do this? And particularly as we've gone through this summer and the incidence of COVID has expanded all over the United States, I think everyone has become aware of the problem. We are going to require a behavioral pledge of all of our students. There's our marketing group and some other marketing groups around the Big Ten as well have been doing focus groups to say, what is it that's going to motivate students to follow these health protocols? And that not only our evidence, but the evidence coming from some of these other studies suggests that students aren't particularly motivated by the fear that they're going to get sick. They feel invulnerable, whether that's accurate or not. But they are motivated by wanting to protect others, by wanting to protect the campus community, by wanting to do the right thing and not spread infection. So we're going to run a social media campaign featuring students that's going to amplify that message. The other message that resonates with students is, if you want to be on campus this fall, if you don't want to be in the basement of your parents' house, this is what you have to do. And this is going to be true not just at UW-Madison, but in every college in the country. And that message resonates as well. So we've got a major marketing campaign that we are taking on. All of that said, while positive reinforcement is what we're really pushing here, instructors are authorized. If someone shows up in class without a mask, if they refuse to wear a mask, the instructor can cancel class and can deregister that student. Failure to comply with our codes of conduct will result as a violation of the overall student code of conduct, and students will be pursued under those cases. We have to have safety for everyone on campus. Of course, we care a lot about our employees, and we're doing a number of things for them. We're de-densifying all of our workspaces. Our facilities people have done a great job of, putting together templates for how do you organize the physical space in shared offices. We've asked people to stagger hours so you don't have many people in a shared office at the same time. We're trying to continue to telework with as many people who can work from home as possible. And we're thoroughly cleaning our buildings twice a day and making sure that all of the cleaning supplies are available for individuals to clean their own workspaces. And of course, our employees, like our students, are expected to mask, keep physical distance, and monitor their symptoms. Where people cannot be at work because of their own health or the health of those who they live with, we are doing everything we can to make accommodations, which we think is important. Of course, we're not just an educational enterprise, we're also a research enterprise, and we closed a lot of our labs last March. We are slowly reopening them. Our hope is to have almost all of our research running by early September with our health and cleaning and distancing protocols in place. Our labs don't look like they used to. There's much more distance, more staggering, as much telework as possible. We are really deeply engaged in research around COVID. Right now, we have 320 either approved or pending grant proposals on research relating to COVID-19. That goes from everything to work on creating a vaccine and use of antibodies in treatment, to a group that is looking at how do you most effectively communicate messages about risk and behavior to different groups in the population, to another group that is really working with Dane County on this one. It's a group of graduate students from our cellular and molecular biology program who are sequencing the coronavirus samples that come out of Dane County in positive tests. And it turns out there are the coronavirus mutates just enough that there are signature differences between people who catch the coronavirus in Milwaukee versus San Diego versus China. So in May, when you were sequencing these coronavirus samples, the samples showed a lot of diversity. That suggested that the virus was coming into Madison from a lot of different places. It was not necessarily spreading in the community very much, but people were bringing it in, and then we were being effective at stopping it. In the last month, just the opposite has been true. There's been very little diversity in these samples, which suggests that much of the increase in the virus in this last month has really been internal spread of people inside Madison infecting each other. That's very useful information as you're thinking in the health department about what you need to do. All of this is having the same effect on us that it's having on many of your businesses around town. We're in a real financial crisis. And of course, our financial crisis is not just the revenue that we take in, but the state dollars as well. We are right now estimating a $150 million shortfall if we have a full student body all paying expected tuition in the fall. That includes all sorts of things. It's cuts in reductions in housing revenue, reductions in dining revenue, reductions in parking revenue. We have no conferences going on. Athletics has big reductions in their revenue. And of course, in addition to the lost revenue, we're also putting a lot of new money into some of our testing and health protocols. Put on top of that, the state issues, and we all know the state is facing budget problems. The governor lapsed budget money for the last year, the year that ran through the end of June, where he basically took about $50 million away from the entire UW system. We took about half of that. We lost about $20 million. I will note that out of a $70 million lapse from the governor, the UW system in higher education took $47 million of that, almost 2/3. We can't repeat that as the state does budget cutting. You cannot cut the budget on the back of higher education in this state. That will be a disaster for the state in the long run. The governor has already announced that he's planning to cut $250 million from the budget this year. It is unknown what portion UW is going to get, and then, of course, depending on what UW Systems portion is, we will get handed our share of that. And we are arguing strongly that we've already given it the office, and we should have a lower percentage in this next round, but we'll see what happens. And of course, it's a budget year next year, and there are going to be further budget cuts at that point. So not only do we have the short-term revenue and cost issues that many of you are facing, we've got some really big base budget cuts coming at us out of the state. And that will create a long-term financial crisis that we will be in for a number of years. It's just the reality. Of course, in response to all of this, we didn't do nothing. We have a hiring and salary freeze in place. We've pulled back the money we were going to distribute to new programs for the next fiscal year. We put furloughs in place, asking, depending upon workers' salary levels, for them to take between 3 to 6 days of furlough between May and October. And we're waiting to see where we are in the fall with regard to enrollments and students before we make the next round of decisions on budget. We will, in September and October, have a better sense of what the fall is going to look like and what the spring is likely to look like. And on that basis, it is quite likely that there are going to be more furloughs and some real budget cuts that we're going to have to deal with. Our biggest focus right now, of course, in addition to reopening and getting our health protocols in place, is fall enrollment. We had 46,000 applicants. Our number of applicants grew again this year. It's a new record. And the question is, can we get our robust incoming class that we want of about 7,400 freshmen? We are on track right now, but I will tell you that I keep saying to admissions, I will believe this when I actually see everyone on campus and registered come the 1st of September, because there's still a lot of students out there deciding, am I really going to go? How am I going to go? Am I going to go in person? Am I going to stay home and take distance classes? We'll just have to see where we are come early September. One good piece of news here, particularly in the midst of the sort of social revolution around racial justice that's happening, is we had a 20% increase in enrollment deposits from underrepresented students of color, and we're working hard to make sure that those students arrive in September and are at UW. But as I say, we don't really know until September comes. Everything, as you all know better than me, is uncertain. All of the plans that I've laid out to you could change in the next 2 weeks, depending on what happens in the larger environment. Every day we're learning more about this virus and what the right health protocol should be and what our testing should look like. And one of our real concerns is to remain as adaptable as possible. Having said all of that, we are moving forward in other ways on campus, and you know some of this. We're going to welcome 150 new faculty at the end of August. We've had a great hiring year. Until COVID hit, we were in really great financial shape, and so that's the biggest group of new faculty coming in that we've seen in many, many years. And we've got some new buildings that are about to open, as those of you know who've been driving through campus and seeing the construction. Both our dairy science building and our meat sciences building are nearing completion. Our chemistry building, which is to the right there, which has been messing up traffic going down University for the last 2 years, is moving forward. And we will be opening the NIC, which was the old location of the surf, just outside the Kohl Center. It's a new recreation center that was badly, badly needed on campus. And while we'll be running it a little differently and much more distanced and with fewer students in it at any time, there is no time that we need a student rec center more than when students are feeling more isolated, not able to get out as much as they are in the current pandemic. So thank you all for being part of this community, for the support that I know many of you give to UW, for sending your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, nephews, and neighbors' children off to us. It's going to be a different semester. I hope it's going to be a successful semester. We will see how things evolve. We've been working hard to try to make this both a different year, but a year that is safe and productive for many, many people. And, come back and ask me in December how we succeeded over the fall. But thank you for asking me to speak, and I look forward to our question and answer center.
Thank you for the presentation, Chancellor Blank, and thanks for everyone who attended today's meeting. We'll now have a live Q&A with Chancellor Blank for anyone interested. You can find a link to the Zoom Q&A in the 7 a.m. email from the Rotary office. We are adjourned.